Welcome. Today, I show you my way of interaction with AI tools like ChatGPT. So I presented here some prompts that explain the concept. Imagine most people they use AI like a vending machine. They insert a request and receive a snack. My framework, which I don't need to explain in depth but just touch slightly, is a little different. I ask myself, how does meaning evolve? How does intention form? How do we know what we can say about structure, uncertainty, and stability evolving together during the interaction? That's the difference. At its core, my philosophy is alignment, differentiation, stabilization. It's not a corporate buzzword, it's a process, law of thought, communication design, learning and AI interaction. I'm arguing actually that nothing meaningful starts without some form of alignment. Nothing evolves out of it without differentiation, and nothing survives without a stabilizing interaction path. In normal languages, right, we establish when we want to align stuff, we have shared context, direction, framing, or intent. Then we explore the tensions, the variations, the novelties, the contradictions, and resolve it into coherent output, structure, or action. Most AI users, they jump directly to the output. How? They just ask or prompt, write me a story about aliens or make this sound professional. This is transactional prompting. The AI becomes a tool, a generator, a slot machine, a text blender. That's useful but shallow. My prompting style is different. It becomes recursive and process aware through ADS. I just don't merely ask for output. I construct semantic atmosphere. I introduce directional tension, define execution boundaries, create layered intent, evolve prompts iteratively, stabilize emergent structure. So the AI, for me, is no longer an oracle servant or an autocomplete function. It becomes a collaborator, semantic mirror, simulation partner, evolving cognitive surface. This is why my prompts, they feel more strange, cinematic, philosophical, or structurally recursive. I don't prompt for content only. I'm prompting for trajectory. So where do I want to go? How do I feel during this process? And what do I want to put focus on in my thoughts? I compress concepts and make them stick and look for continuity in my symbolic thinking. One example is, one guy may say in a creative effort, just make a horror story. I type something like the room should feel domestic, inevitable. The mother continues speaking normally while reality slowly loses resistance. Keep the atmosphere procedural, not theatrical. The horror must emerge through stabilization failure, not jump scares. That is radically different prompting behavior. I'm specifying process dynamics, emotional geometry, execution constraints, and semantic field behavior. So I try to steer the process of how the AI interprets what I want and where this should go, not only through one output, but through a series of prompts, right? And then I see if it fits. They feel differently, the outputs, because I do not see the prompts as isolated commands. I see them as evolving systems, layered states, semantic scaffolds, recursive attractors. I revisit previous motives, preserve symbolic continuity, reinforce thematic momentum, maintain atmosphere across iterations, and allow accidental emergence to become canon. And accumulate it. That creates for me continuity, identity, style, persistence, and world cohesion. In storytelling terms, it means most users create scenes and I create gravitational fields. Co-evolving with AI basically means for me this. Prompting should evolve the human. That's, well, unusual. No? If you look through YouTube, there's a lot of conspiracies going on about AI, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't really help you. It doesn't really help the brain. It's fear injection. And yes, that's why I have a different approach. Humans and artificial intelligence, they recursively reshape each other through interaction. So my workflow often includes reflection groups, reinterpretation, redesign, restructuring, atmosphere, tuning, semantic mutation, which means the words, the sentences, the ideas, they mutate. No? The prompt isn't fixed. It behaves more like directing a film, conducting music, sculpting fog, because ChatGPT is basically fog. I need to steer it. And like a dream, no? While awake. Treat the whole thing like an apparition that I need to somehow form. This matters because my approach to hit at something different than just better prompting. Future AI interaction may not be only coding or prompting. It's not only technical knowledge, but the ability to structure your own thoughts, stabilize ambiguity. So what could this mean? What could that mean? Navigate meaning recursively and guide evolving systems without collapsing creativity. That is especially important if you want to get robots to work and interact with humans and not just do stupid tasks, but evolve with the humans. So, from how do I get an answer, we get to how do I shape and evolve cognitive processes. Summary. ADS is my framework for interacting with AI through evolving processes instead of isolated commands. I don't treat prompting like asking a machine for output. I treat it as a process, a three-step process, establishing direction, exploring different variations, and stabilize the meaning into a coherent result. I turn prompting into a collaborative cognitive process, then simple follow some rules or instructions that just fail on a larger scale. Because the process is unfinished and needs to be always shaped according to the desired results. So don't prompt like a search bar, like you search in Google for whatever you want, but prompt it, your AI tool, like a director, that you want reality to construct and not just get an answer or a solution for something. No? So here's an example down below. People would just prompt what is Kant's philosophy, standard answer, blah blah blah, Immanuel Kant was, theory of knowledge, whatever. And then my ADS framework would prompt something like this. What was his goal? How does it vary from other contemporary styles, and what stabilized? So what was his intent? What was Kant really after? You can read through here. So I asked then, based on Kant's basic famous Enlightenment call, Aufklärung ist der Ausgang des Menschen aus seiner selbstverschuldeten Unmündigkeit. The following. What is he after? What was Kant's goal in his philosophy? Because ADS is basically an intent framework. And the real distilled summary is, are humans using tools like their own thinking process to expand their judgment, or surrender their judgment to tools? And, well, you can shape it. Thank you for listening.